Yay. Thank you so much, Savannah. And thanks to everybody that has joined us. I am very excited to be here today for a discussion on leveraging soft skills to create connections that will close deals in Q4. As Savannah mentioned, we encourage your questions. So keep letting us know where you're joining from and make sure to drop those questions in the chat. It is Women in Sales Month. We're over halfway through Women in Sales Month. So I'm especially grateful to be joined by three amazingly talented women in sales today. Before we jump in, I want to quickly share why it matters that this panel is led by women. Simply put, women are better at sales than men. According to Exactly, and Savannah mentioned this, women on average achieve 8% higher quota attainment than men. And women-led teams have higher win and quota attainments, 94% for women versus 91% for men. And let me be very clear, this is not a men versus women conversation. That's not what we're trying to do here. But the reason that I asked three women in B2B before with Hannah, who unfortunately can't join us, but the reason I asked women in B2B to join me for this panel is because soft skills are one of our superpowers. And I'd like you to think about what a 3% bump in revenue could mean to your organization, or how about an 8% bump in your personal number, that extra, 40, 80, 120K. And we can help you uncover those wins. That's what we're going to do over the next hour. So now that we've set the tone, let's jump into a few intros. Hello, I am Leslie Vanetz. I'm the founder of sales consulting company, Sales Team Builder, very passionate about transforming sales into an inclusive and into a respected profession. Before we actually talk about how soft skills can close deals this quarter, I'd like to ask our panelists to say hello. Alexis, you're in my top corner. Do you want to get us started?
Yes, I would love to. Hi, Leslie. Hi, everybody watching. My name is Alexis Scott. I have actually joined the dark side recently. My official title is Senior Manager of Growth Marketing. But ultimately, in taking this role, my goal is to approach marketing from a sales perspective. My background is in sales. My role before this was actually training people to get them started in software sales and to enable them to start those careers, and very, very passionate about that. Also very passionate about the importance of soft skills. I have a chip on my shoulder, and I'll get to that later, but excited for this discussion and excited to cheer on all these people looking to be better. This is amazing. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so happy to have you here. Shawanda, you're next on my screen.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Shawanda Roberts, and I am a Global Vice President of Sales and Marketing Activation at Frost & Sullivan. I do a little bit of everything, so I am an individual contributor. I also lead a team and recently added on the role of integrating sales and marketing. So like Alexis, I am now moving into understanding marketing and kind of from the sales side, how to integrate those two areas together. So I'm really, really excited about this because soft skills is very important, not just in sales, but really in anything that you do. And so I'm ready to get down into this topic and answer questions and hear best practices and kind of go from there. So welcome, everyone.
Oh, love it. So happy to have you here. Amelia.
Hello, everyone. I am so grateful to be here because these women clearly, as you just heard, are powerhouse women who are game changers, changing the way sales is done. And it's an innate thing, but it also is something where they worked hard to get to where they are. So round of applause for all of y'all, first and foremost. So I'm Amelia. I am in Tampa, Florida. I work with strategic sales, and I'm the lead evangelist over at Reggie.ai. So I joined them not too long ago, and it has been amazing to see how I can kind of combine the sales motion with the marketing motion, the inbound and outbound be tied to revenue, but being present in where my buyers live. So figuring out how to best resonate with those buyers, where they're at, and show up and just be present. So that's something that I did naturally without realizing I was doing it, which led me to where I am now. So super pumped to hear more about the chip on Alexis's shoulder and what Shawanda has to say about all of her skills, because there's way too long of a list to even start with right now. Like, goes past my fingers. And Leslie, everything that she's doing and has done and gotten to where she is. Let's do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome. And I'm curious to hear who we have in our audience. Savannah, would you actually mind launching that first poll? And if folks that have joined us today can take a second and oops, I think I just messed it up. Did I end the poll for everybody?
This is the human aspect of it.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Okay, pivot. We're going to do a pivot because salespeople are really good at on the moment pivots. Just head to the chat. I've messed up the poll. My apologies.
It's back up.
It's back up. Okay. You know what? That's because Savannah's a lifesaver and she's amazing at these things. Okay, so head to the poll and let us know what role you're in. Curious to see who's joining us today. And while folks are answering our first poll, I'd like to do a very quick round robin question for the panel, and drop it in the chat as well if you'd like to participate. But quick round robin for the panel. What is your favorite soft skill, or the soft skill that you most pride yourself on? So quick round robin. Amelia, I'm going to start with you.
Adaptability.
Ooh, that's a good one. Shawanda, what would you say?
Positivity, motivation.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, I'm going to dig into that one. I can't wait. Okay, Alexis?
I would say communication, but now I'm like hearing the others and I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like I'm good at that too. I don't know. I'm going to go with communication.
I'm good at it all.
Yeah, I just, that'll be about the chip, Amelia. I'm going to tell you about the damn chip.
Okay? But you're good at all of it. Yeah.
And I totally think that's going to be some of the fun of the conversation we get into today, because so often I'm not even sure folks know what soft skills are. Like, they're like, oh yeah, I'm actually a really good listener. Oh, that's a skill set that I should be leaning into and highlighting. So I can't wait to dig into that. I'm going to go with curiosity.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's so hard. Yes. And we have some folks dropping their answers into the chat. So keep those coming. Soft skills that you love, that you pride yourself on, or even ones that you want to hear more about today. So I'm seeing empathy, I'm seeing curiosity. And let's share the results of these polls so we know who is on the line with us today. Okay, wow, like a really even split.
Yeah,
even split. ICs, managers, and leaders. Okay, amazing. Well, we have a little something for all of you today. So don't worry. And I know that all of you clearly have goals and numbers that you need to deliver when it comes to your Q4 aspirations. So another question, everybody head to the chat. It's okay if you get this wrong, but what percent of employers say soft skills play a role in their hiring process? And panelists, you can drop your guess in the chat as well. But audience, what percent of employers say soft skills play a role in their hiring process? What do we got here? 70%, 50%, 60, 50, 20, 60, 70%. Less than 10. We have James coming in hot with James is like, this is Price is Right rules, right? We're going in with 10%, 20%, 18%. Amelia's also doing Price is Right rules. Okay, I love it.
Mixing it up.
The answer is 93%. According to the CEO of ZipRecruiter, 93% of employers report that, and this is in quotes, soft skills play a critical role in their decision about whom they want to hire. 93%. So I want to start there, and we're going to certainly get into some of the more like tactical, actionable things. But Alexis and Amelia, you're both in new roles. So I'd like to have you talk to us a bit about the role that soft skills played in helping you get those new gigs, or like fast forwarding the onboarding process. Alexis, you're newer. Like, congratulations on your brand new role.
Yay.
So we'll start with you. What is your take on that?
Okay, so as far as my soft skills getting me the role, it's really interesting. Amelia, when she was doing her intro, brought up her inherent desire to be a part of these communities just out of curiosity, out of wanting to learn, wanting to grow. And that's ultimately how I got my job as well. It was talking to people, it was sharing ideas, it was communicating. And ultimately, it boiled down to me having to have a heart to heart with myself to be able to articulate what I was looking for effectively. And again, that all drives into that communication feed of, can I share the message succinctly, articulately, clearly? And that's a massive skill to have. It's not always easy. And I listed that as my number one, but I was really struggling with that very, very hard. The minute that I was able to do so and change that, I got hired in a week. I know that sounds crazy, but literally 1 week from identifying my target, communicating that to the world, I had a new job. Now, taking that a step further into getting started within this role, I am in a new industry-ish, I guess, new vertical, right? And an entirely new team. I'm now officially on the marketing team. Shout out to Workspan, by the way. This is my new hoodie. It came today in the mail. And so there's a couple of pieces that I think are really important and that I'm consistently reminding myself. Number one is, as you get started, to be a really great listener. I am here to learn. I don't know everything, and I know I don't know everything. So my goal is to listen to the conversations being had around me, to learn from them, absorb as much as I possibly can, and then start sharing my ideas on ways in which we can get better as a team. The other thing is EQ. And just kind of trying to read people and get to know people on my team, try to understand them as people, what motivates them, what drives them, what are they like talking about, what's interesting to them, company-wide. How do our values interweave into what we do, how we talk to each other, all of this. And all of this is all relational, right? It has so much to do with how we interact with each other, how we learn from each other, how we work together and collaborate as teammates. But that is learned, and it is situational, and it's not easy for everyone. And I think that folks who have a plethora of soft skills tend to assume that it's just inherent and most people just can do it and it comes easily. So what's the problem? And the reality is it actually doesn't. It has to be a conscious effort for a lot of people. And so I think that if you can identify, if you are entering a new role, you're thinking about a new role, the steps that you can take to be a great teammate, a great listener, to have that intellectual curiosity and to ask why. I will tell you, a team that has been doing something forever, when you come in and you start asking why, half the time they haven't thought about it because they've just been doing it. It's a magical question.
Ooh, I love that. And I was lucky enough to get like a little bit of a peek behind the curtains because you were going through some of this process, like what, when we were together, when we were preparing for this. And it truly was an instance of you getting that clarity of vision and purpose.
Yep.
And then immediately afterwards, you had the opportunity to say yes to this current role. Really, really powerful. And I think good advice for anybody in pretty much any situation is saying, but why?
Yeah. Why do we do it like that?
Excellent advice. Right? Alexa or Amelia, what would you add? You're like what, two months into Richie? How, like, you're pretty new.
Yeah, about almost 2 months. And I decided I went from, being in the B2B product world of sales, and then jumping into RevOps service selling, and then back into the B2B dark side, if you will, the crazy people of the world, like y'all. Kidding, we're all that. But jump back into the product selling and realize that, okay, I had a lot of questions when it came to product selling and then service-based selling and then back to product because I didn't know what I thought I knew along the way, both times, jumping into a different way of selling and a different selling motion. It was okay for me to ask why. I have never been very much a shy person. So I could say for myself, which is not hard for it's harder for other people. For me, it's not hard to say, why? Well, how? Well, tell me more. Or I need to know this, like, and challenge things, not meaning to necessarily challenge it, but trying to understand it and put myself out there to be like, well, I don't get it. Can somebody explain, even though this is maybe really easy to understand? For me, it's something that's something that's more simple for me that might not be for others. So that's okay if it's not. But you've got to start somewhere if you want to build that EQ that Alexis is talking about. I mean, having that, uh, you know, that let me see how this person's reacting, what they're doing, if they're drawing closer to the camera, if they are playing with their hair. Hello, that's the number one sign that somebody's interested in something. So I learned this the other day from shout out to Matt Millen, who is a brilliant person over at Reggie and our CEO. So, I mean, there's little things like that. Learn who people are, but really be curious. Like exactly what y'all were saying earlier too. And that's a natural thing for me. So I decided to leave the service-based selling industry with RevOps, jump back into a selling product. I put myself out there and literally did a LinkedIn post that I'm betting on myself. I don't know what's next, but cheers to the future. Here we go. Literally, I mean, I talked to these women right here saying like, y'all, I'm a single mom of two. What the hell am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And I was like, but you know what? I'm doing what I feel like is the best thing for me because I've surrounded myself with the right people who are going to get me to where I need to go because I know that I'm in their corner and they're in my corner because I took one step at a time, not the whole staircase. Nobody can jump from the bottom of the staircase all the way up to the top. So just think of things like if you don't have that just natural, like, oh, I can go talk to anybody and I can talk to the wall right here. If you don't have that or you don't feel like you don't know how to put yourself out there, right? Or ask the questions, how or why or what, all of those things, just one stare at a time, ask one simple thing and just go to one person that you feel like you can trust. Then you're going to realize, oh, it's okay to let my guard down a little bit. It's okay. So when I did that post, I had a plethora of people who reached out to me and were so encouraging. It was like, I felt like, oh my gosh, this was not the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. This is actually a brilliant thing because it showed, okay, let me leverage my quote unquote street smarts opposed to my book smarts here because it was not necessarily textbook smart to go and quit my job without another job. That's what the textbook says not to do. But for me, I've always thought of myself as being more of that quote unquote street smarts, having that EQ that overrode the IQ because you can go and learn things, right? Like you can go and do that. You can go learn that EQ too. So, but you've got to be focused on what do I want to learn? How do I want to learn this? Who do I learn this from? Who does this well? And go approach them because people are more willing to help you grow and learn and be better with whatever those interpersonal skills are that you have or you don't have. And take a SWOT analysis, figure out who you are.
You know what's interesting, and it wasn't a direction I expected this answer to go, but it makes a lot of sense, is that both you and Alexis shared that you leaned into your intuition, which is arguably a superpower of women. And both of you were vulnerable and acknowledging that you were maybe selling something new or unsure of your path, and that ability to be vulnerable that then led to curiosity and led to understanding, was a really powerful part of you getting these opportunities you're in now and creating the connections that sort of fast forwarded your onboarding process. I really, really love that. I want to take a little bit of a pivot on this question, because everybody on the call, whether you're, IC manager, leader, you're in a position where you're going to be you're going to have to manage up at some point, right? Whether that's to your board, to your direct manager, to maybe a superior that's cross-functional. To be most effective as a seller, as a sales manager, you need to manage up. Shawanda, you do both, right? Like you are both a seller and you are also a sales manager and you also are reporting to a manager. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give that can help our listeners navigate those soft skills to have more productive internal conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot that goes into that. When you're managing up and you're communicating, it's about understanding who you're talking to and how they digest information that comes into them, right? So some people that, might be at a higher level than you, they like to see data, right? Some just like to, hear your confidence and your motivation, depending on what the topic is, right? And then there's some that need to visually see it. So making sure that you kind of know that. And when you're new to a company, you're going to learn that as you, start interacting more and more with managers and executives and things like that. The other part of it is the listening part, right? So as they're talking to you, making sure that, and we had to do this, of course, for the last 2 years when we were all in COVID, but making sure that we're making that eye contact and we're listening to what they're saying instead of looking all around, or you're looking up here, or you're looking down here, and they're like, are they even paying attention to me, right? So the eye contact is very, very big, and having to do it on, a Zoom versus being in person where you're face to face with them was a little bit of a different thing that we all had to kind of figure out and learn, right? But we all did it. I think we all did a really good job at it. And now some of us are going back into the office and some of us are hybrid. And so, understanding that, I think also one of the things that really helped out in COVID was building better relationships. If you think about it, we were literally being able to see into other people's homes and their families because kids were at home, husbands were at home, spouses were at home, whoever it was. And it became topic of conversation at times. And sometimes, of course, your colleague was your kid that was coming in asking about a snack, right? And so we were able to build better relationships overall with managers and executives because at one point we were all in the same storm, right? And just all trying to figure this out. And so I think, the listening, having the empathy, also the communicating, and then understanding again, how do they receive or digest information that I'm going to give them, right? And all in all, the last part I will say is being confident. So like when you're speaking, having confidence in your voice goes a long way. Now, I will tell you, I tell a lot of my new hires that sometimes I have a degree in BS because I can be talking to a client, not know what the hell they're talking about because I work with the investment community. So sometimes I'm talking about smart cities and then it's onto a whole nother topic. And because I'm very confident in my voice, they think I'm an expert, but I literally get off that phone and I'm YouTubing and I'm Googling and I'm talking to my analyst and I'm like, what in the hell does this mean? And so confidence in your voice goes a very long way. And especially when you're talking to executives and you're managing up again, it's being confident in whatever the decisions that you are making or that you're talking to them about or the recommendations that you're making and being confident that that's the right recommendation based on all of the information that I have in front of me at this time. It's big. It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So here's Alexis, jump in. Yeah, please.
First of all, Shawanda, that was amazing. I mean, I just need to say that.
Yeah, shout out to the queen.
Helpful. Awesome. Loved particularly the importance of learning your leader's communication style, preferred communication style. That's incredibly important. But additionally, the one thing I wanted to add was learn what's important to them. You can go in with a whole presentation and they could give two craps about what it is you are talking about. You need to understand ahead of time, what is the information that they want to know? If there was nothing else and you had to tell them one thing, what is that? Because oftentimes they're busy. They don't have time for a whole digest of everything you've done. And so just making sure that you're succinct, that you know what they want to know, top of mind, and being able to communicate that effectively, quickly, clearly in the manner of which they want to receive it, you're golden. That is like primo.
So it's funny because that same exact advice applies to sales messaging, right? Keep it short, keep it simple, meet your customers where they're at, make sure that you are sharing something that's relevant and valuable to them, not just making it seller centric. So it's funny to see how many of those things cross over directly to developing cross-functional collaborations or relationships like the two of you are doing, or figuring out how to manage up, like some of the amazing advice, Shawanda, that you just shared. So here's another round robin question for the panel, and drop in the chat too. I want to see what people think. It's like the nature versus nurture argument, right? So many people believe that soft skills are innate. You either have them or you don't. And then there's another group of people that believe that soft skills can be taught, can be trained. Which camp are you in? Is it innate or can it be trained? Alexis, I'll come to you first.
That's a very hard question for me. I do believe to some extent they are innate. Certain ones. I definitely think though that if there is a skill, and I don't care if it is a soft skill or a hard skill that you really, really want, you can train yourself to have capability in it. So if you naturally don't have EQ, you're probably never going to have the strongest EQ of anyone you know, but you can learn skills and mechanisms to help give you a baseline level of EQ, right? Same thing with communication. Some people are terrible writers. There are things that you can do to become a better writer, a better communicator, a better speaker. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm going to go with innate, but I think you can get baseline knowledge.
I'm on the total opposite side. Like I have 1000% like hill I will die on, believe that every single soft skill can be taught and trained. But I think you make an exceptional and important point that if you are not a naturally curious person, if that is maybe not like, that was not part of your upbringing, that was part of like the nurture of you growing, it will be more difficult for you to learn that skill.
Yeah.
And it will probably never be your number one skill. But that doesn't mean that you can't do the hard work to grow that sort of
Absolutely.
like EQ thing. And I think that's something that you mentioned in your post on LinkedIn today, Amelia, was like the importance of EQ as a skill. And it was actually one of the questions, I think it was Trip, had that question, like, how does EQ come into place and how can you grow those skills? So maybe that's a good segue. Like, well, first tell us what side of the table you're on. And then I'd love to hear it from you, Amelia and Shawanda, like, how do you coach reps on EQ? Like, how do you coach soft skills?
Amelia, you want to go first?
I will start with saying I'm with Alexis on this, that I do believe they're innate. I also massively believe that they can be taught. I really am I'm going to meet y'all in the middle, actually, because y'all are on either side of me in the corners here. So I'm going to meet y'all in the middle and stay neutral. Switzerland right now. But for me, I'm going to be vulnerable right now. I will say time management is a downfall of mine. It is something that I have to be very, very, very aware of because it's not my strong suit. Time management is something I am not the greatest at. But for my growth and for me to actually be successful and to be respectful to others too, I have learned for me to manage my time well, show up for people on time, be present when they're there. It's something you have to, I have to be conscious. I've got a sticky note right here that tells me like, make your buffers, whatever, because if I don't put that time in between before I have this meeting or just to kind of regroup, breathe, grab something to drink, whatever, then I'm going to show up late and that's disrespectful. So those are little things like that, where if I'm doing that, I'm showing up late, right? Like, how am I going to win their trust over if they're thinking like, oh, you don't care enough about me? So trust is a huge thing, right? So that's the aspect of, okay, if I want this person to buy from me, if I want to meet my buyers where they're at, I'm already naturally doing that. That's something that's kind of an innate thing. Let me go find where my buyers are living and do the social thing, right? Be in these communities, show up, be present. But if I am not showing up with respect to them based off of how I need to, one, speak to them in the way that the tone, the mannerism that they speak in, be respectful of that. And if we are supposed to meet, whatnot, time management, I have to work on. Like, that's something I know consciously that I have to focus on. So knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at equally is important. Maybe more so what you're not good at is more important. Just like knowing who you are and who you're not equally is important. So, I would challenge anybody and everybody to really write down, like sit down with yourself and have this come to Jesus moment of like, who am I? Who the hell is Amelia? Who the hell is Leslie? Who am I?
Yeah.
And write down
Leaning
what
into
you're
that
good at, what you're not good at,
intuition.
and
But
be
that's a
vulnerable
soft
with
skill.
yourself.
That's a
Here,
soft
I
skill.
don't think time
Self-awareness.
management is a
You don't
soft
think
skill.
self-awareness is a soft skill?
I think self-awareness is.
Yeah.
I don't think time management is. I think that is a hard skill that can unequivocally be taught and mastered. I think the soft
Yes.
skill is giving a heck, like giving enough of a care about respecting other people. So the soft skill is respecting other people or having like the situational and social awareness to understand that the way you treat time can be viewed as disrespectful or hurtful to other people because maybe you are somebody that does consistently run 10 minutes late. So the soft skill is the self-awareness to know how your behavior impacts somebody else. I think time management is a very hard skill of figuring out like how to time block, how to cluster, how to put in buffers, and those things
how to do those little things.
Be taught.
Yes.
Okay, Shawanda, you actually have to train people. That's part of your job, right? You have to like help
do that.
the ICs do these hard things. How? Tell us more. Give us the secrets.
I mean, so I think I will say this. I think anything can be learned. It's a matter of that person's wanting to do that. And also wanting to continue to perfect their craft or their skill or their, some skill that they're not too good at. I'll give you an example. Let's just take patience. Okay. The one huge skill. All right. Now I used to go from 0 to 60 real quick, with my kids or with anyone because I would just blow up really quick. Well, I had to learn, wait a minute, don't blow up, be patient, think about things. And it took time and time and time for me to put it in my mind to say, okay, wait a minute, don't open your mouth, Shawanda, just stop and just smile and then think about what you want to say. And then you say it, right? Versus just going right off the cuff. But I had to continue to practice that every day along with, based on different situations. So I think the same thing with certain skills can definitely be learned. It's a matter of, do you want to get better on that? And if you decide as a person that, I don't really care about that and I'm not going to get better at it, well, it's going to be, people are going to see it, right? Because they're just going to say, you know what, that's just not a soft skill that they want to get better at because I've seen this person for 3 years and they just don't change. Like, it is what it is. But I think even from training that to or talking to others, you have to understand and their motivation. Sometimes you'll even find out if it was part of their upbringing or if it wasn't part of their upbringing, just like Amelia had brought up, I think, or Alexis, one of you, because that makes a big difference. Right. And you can learn by looking at other people and learning from other people and the way they approach different situations. And when I take it to clients and I think about it, there's some clients as well that don't have certain soft skills. And you learn as a seller working with that client, how do I approach them? How is it best for me to call them, to email them? Like all of that is learning your client and also building that relationship with them, know what's going to get them to be excited about things, knowing what's going to get them not too excited about things. And then, I'll take a line from Jill Conrad, that one thing that stuck with me from her in her books is always be relevantly useful. So if I am reaching out to someone, I need to make sure I'm relevant and that I'm useful. That is the person that is going to continue coming back to you because they're going to say, oh my gosh, every time I hear from Alexis, like it's always relevant and it's always useful. And those are the two words that I always talk about and I always keep in the back of my mind. And, as sales organizations, a lot of times we'll have, our executives say, oh, send this email out and send this one out. And you're looking at it going, that has nothing to do with my client. But you want me to send that out? Yeah, we're not going to do that today. and you make your, you need to make your cadence in the right form and also in the right way to make sure that every touch point you have with them is, am I relevant and am I useful? And if I'm not, back up, don't send it, don't make that call, change whatever it is that you need to say, bring another topic to the table, whatever it is, to make sure that you're relevantly useful.
And that circles back to some of your earlier comments on managing up and like doing the work to have the confidence to say, this isn't the right touch point for my client for XYZ reasons. Here's the alternative that I offer. Yeah, that is exceptional advice. So let me make another maybe divisive comment. Like, it's not a nature versus nurture, but one of the reasons I was most excited to moderate this panel is because I coach sales. So it's what I do for a living. And, prior to that, I was a sales manager for almost 15 years. So I've had many conversations with sales executives who swear up and down that people don't buy on emotion, they buy on logic. We on this panel, and hopefully folks that showed up today, know that that isn't true. We know that unequivocally, study after study shows that emotion sells, and the buyer later justifies their purchase with data and with logic. And sellers with strong soft skills, like some of the ones we mentioned, active listening, curiosity, that genuine desire to help, they tend to use communication skills. And I think Alexis just went and chose communication as the whole category. But they use those communication skills like storytelling, questioning, emotional language to help guide their prospects through the buying process. So I'm keen to hear everybody's take on the emotion versus data versus logic. Like, audience, drop your hot take in the comments as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but I also have a challenge for you. Are you ready for another challenge?
Go,
if you could only use one soft skill, there's no riding the fence on this one, Amelia. If you could only use one soft skill to drive revenue for the rest of the quarter, one, which would it be? An audience, I give the same challenge to you. If you had to double down on one soft skill, which would it be? And maybe Shawanda will come to you first, because you made a great point that, like, we can't all be great at every single skill, right? Like, we kind of have to pick our battles, lean into, so like, oh my gosh, okay.
Oh
emotion,
my God.
data,
Can
logic.
I have multiple choice? Can I have like 4 that I could just choose from? And
just
multiple choice? That's oh my
and
God,
then I'm going to make Alexis be a tiebreaker at the end if you pick the same one.
Okay.
I go
Oh goodness, this is packed. This is a packed question. So let me answer the question first on if people buy on emotion, logic, whatever. Okay. I think the saying goes, people buy from people, right? So we're all human, right? We all have different emotions. I do think that if the product or solution that you're selling, we're looking B2B now, if the product or solution will definitely handle your challenge, then they're going to buy on emotion. All right. Because it's going to be like, you know what? Yeah, the product's good, but I really like this sales rep that's selling it because they are on point. I feel that if I buy from them, that my customer service, if I have problems, if I have anything throughout the term of me using this product or solution, that they're going to be there. Right.
Okay. Like, all things being equal, if
all things are equal. Yeah. If all things are equal. Now, it's funny because I will tell you, I have had a client that told me, your product that you're selling is not as superior as some other ones, but I love you as a salesperson, so we're going with you. I was like, whoa, okay. Now that's all emotion. That is 100% emotion right there, right? But it also made me feel good from the emotion standpoint, but it made me go to work on how do we make this product superior. And that's what I worked on that whole, year. And then we got it back to being a superior product. But, I think the situation depends. on what's being sold. I mean, I can tell you as a consumer, I probably don't buy on logic. I buy on emotion. I mean,
yeah.
that's
I
just
mean,
me.
it's natural to do because you get excited, you get emotionally attached to the outcomes that you see that product, that service, or maybe in your case, the partnership with that sales rep offering. And later, I mean, this person sounds like they were straight up like, no, I want to work with you. If we look at the full pro and con category, maybe it's then even because I so badly want to, like, you know, hitch my ride to you. I trust you. And then maybe later they're like, oh, well, it's like 90% is good. They go back and justify.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think the logic really comes in when you're looking at budget. I mean, let's just put it out there. Like, you know, if your budget is 10,000 and you know this product you really want is 30,000, you know, you got to use logic and be like, I ain't got the budget for that. I better go here. Same thing in the consumer world, right? And so I think that's where I said again, it depends on what you're buying and what the situation is on the different bids or, you know, that you have in your hand.
For sure. And B2B and B2C purchases are obviously very different. We have our friend Jordan here in the chat saying people buy on emotion, then justify the purchase on logic. Absolutely. We have Nicole, and maybe Alexis, you can tie this into your reply. Nicole shared data attracts, emotion captures it, and then sells it. I don't know. What do you think about that? And what were you going to add?
So what I was going to add had nothing to do with data, quite frankly. It had to do with me building an entire program around what I believe to be fueled by emotion in my last role. So for those of you who don't know who I am or what I did previously, I worked for a company called Aspireship. Aspireship trains people in software sales and then helps them get hired. When I started with Aspireship, the program was entirely free for candidates, $0, no deposit. You could go through the program, you could learn everything that you needed to learn, you could prove competency, and you could get hired by a software company full-time, not an internship. I mean, it's an amazing program. I will say that till I'm blue in the face. When I was building partnerships, there are 8 million recruiting resources in this world for salespeople. They didn't need people with no experience. They didn't need people with diverse backgrounds. They needed salespeople who knew what the heck they were doing. And so what I did as a salesperson was I leveraged two things. Number one, my own soft skills in building personal relationships with founders and sales leaders. And I also leveraged the mission of the company, which touched people's hearts. How often have we as people just wanted someone to give us a chance? And I think that as humans, we will find that sometimes the greatest gift of being kind to others is that feeling that we get in ourselves, like that just satisfaction of like, I did a good deed today. Yes. Like not only did I help somebody, but I feel good about it. And so leveraging that was key to this program. I built the entire program with 0 outbound sales sequences, not one. It was entirely through communities, through relationship building, through our founders' relationships, plus inbound leads. So people who saw me storytelling, sharing things about our graduates, about the companies that we were working with, and really playing on the but leveraging the emotions of our potential customers to have them buy into all of this. And so I do think that buying is a very emotional process, particularly when there are so many solutions out there. I think it's a little bit different. If you have one or two and you're like, okay, let's make my little T spreadsheet, pros and cons, whatever. But when the market is endless, it's who do you like the most? Who makes you feel good? Who makes you feel confident? Who do you know is going to help you?
And even if you have one or two, the status quo is the biggest barrier to choosing those one or two. So if you are not painting the picture of that like positive emotional outcome for them, it's unlikely that they're going to buy one or two. They're going to just do what they were doing because it's more emotionally scary to think about making a wrong decision. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so here's a story. I'm going to make people pick their darn thing. So I'm
I'm sorry, I didn't answer that.
Yeah, I'm coming back to you. You're not
okay. All right. So real quick, that I'm going to say I'm probably going to go with Adaptability. And I think, Amelia, I think that was yours, right? And I'm going to say adaptability because we are in a point where there's a lot of external factors that are, prohibiting people to spend money, right? So we have got to be able as sellers to adapt to the concerns or the pivots that we have to make based on the client's situation and trying to make it to where it is 100% about the client and about what's going to help them. And so I think adaptability is going to be huge for the remainder of this year as we go into 2023.
Okay, so I'm hearing one for adaptability in the context of making it matter for your buyers. I'm hearing communication in the context of telling a compelling story that your buyers give a heck about. Amelia, all eyes are on you.
I'm going with versatility. I'm going with being versatile, where I'm able to change. So that kind of falls underneath, I would say, the adaptability. But I'm able to pivot, shift, be versatile enough to know this is when we need to kind of go this way. This is when we need to go this way. This is how I need to approach this person, understand people at their core. And, everybody's a little bit of who they are based off of where they've been. So you pick up pieces of where you've been, the people you surrounded yourself with, people who raised you, your family. We touched on that a little bit too. So it's pieces of you are what, we've grown up having. So not all of us are the same by any means. No two people are going to be exactly alike. No two people are going to think exactly alike. So realizing that from the get-go is something that's kind of exciting if you think about it. So, okay, I don't know totally who you are or what you think. Maybe I know you. Okay, let's say Alexis, or I know each other well. But we don't think the same about some things. We've got opinions on things. Leslie and I have opinions. There's things that we specifically believe and know because it's part of who we've surrounded ourselves with or the experiences that we've had. So knowing that you are not the same as the other person, that's okay to show up still as you. So having that authenticity as well, even though it's kind of a buzzword, I'm going to say, people toss around that being authentic and showing up with authenticity. But it's so true. Being authentic, being you, people buy from you. I mean, when I was selling RevOps services, it was where I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't understand. I mean, the engineer over on this side didn't speak Amelia didn't speak engineer, but it ended up working out well because I knew who to pull in who spoke engineer and I spoke their language too. So, it's all about who you know too, to be able to kind of put these pieces together. I'm going with versatility being mine.
Okay. So I'm hearing versatility.
Because it's going to be encompassing all.
No, absolutely not. I am putting you in a lane and I'm hearing versatility, meaning that you can adaptability. Nope, Shawanda already took it. You can communicate
I forgot.
You can communicate with people in a way that they're able to hear you without compromising your own authenticity.
Actually, I'm going to switch this up.
We're not. We only have 8 minutes left.
Okay. Well, we won't switch it up. Then I'll just leave everyone thinking. I have good in my brain.
No, 8 minutes left. We're moving on.
I didn't even get to do my answer. Wait a minute. Can I have 1 minute? Do I get 1 minute?
30 seconds. Go.
Okay. So mine, given my role, is communication, which I said at the beginning, but very specifically storytelling. My role is heavily rooted in content. And how do I take a brand that is a pioneer in the space that it's in, tending to be a little on the traditional side, and how do I make it fun? I'm a fun person. The people that I work with are super fun. The engineering team,
fun, y'all.
I am fun. I need a shirt that says that. But, the engineering team is doing great things. The sales team is doing great things. And so it's really, how do I get the community excited through storytelling? And I've done it before, and dang Skippy, I can do it again. And so that's how I am going to drive revenue by making people want to have fun with us. Through storytelling.
Okay. I love that. I'm all about making sales fun and creative. This is a tough job. So we should really like what we're doing here. And spark joy for our prospects. And that's kind of a thread, right? meeting people where they're at, creating those meaningful connections, telling compelling stories. I love all of it. Okay, last 5 minutes. Folks, if you do have any questions that you really want to make sure we answer, drop them now. Last 5 minutes. I would like the audience to get a takeaway from each of you on something that they can do this week, right? Like, we're in Q4. The topic of this session was how to bring people to the table to drive revenue in Q4. And let's be honest, soft skills in general, you got to flex that muscle a lot to really master it. So what is something that people can take action on this week to help them lean into some of these soft skills that you've shared to get to their Q4 goals? Amelia, I'm going to start with you, but I'm going to kindly ask you to watch the time.
Okay, so we're going to be quick. What I will say is go find one person that you know is really good with soft skills and ask for 30 minutes of their time to learn from them. Just reach out to one person this week and learn from them and just gather all those insights. Record this call so you can go back and actually listen to their call and whatever, go through it. But people are more willing to help than you realize if you just put yourself out there. So put yourself out there, take one step, ask somebody for help.
Wow, that is exceptional and extraordinarily actionable advice. Every single person on the call can do that. Shawanda, what would you add?
I would actually say, take a list of soft skills. Whether you Google that, whatever you do, get a list of soft skills and look at I would say the bottom 2 that you feel you need to work on, and make it a habit for the next 30 days to practice it every day. Every day. And journal or write down how you think you did. And if you have a close friend or someone there that you can work with to say, hey, Leslie, I really want to work on my communication skills a little bit better. You interact with me every day. Can you give me some feedback on how you feel my change is looking for communication in the next 30 days? I'd really appreciate that.
Wow. Fire
time frame. I like it.
Yeah, that's exceptional. I'm immediately thinking back to the top of our call and that why question. Like, so many people struggle with like the questioning, the active listening, the curiosity. So every single day, ask at least one more person, but why? Like something that simple, and make that 30-day habit. Wow, exceptional. Alexis, bring us home.
I know, and I am struggling. I'm like, the guy has the ball and he's about to throw it, and I'm still close to the base with the answer, so bear with me. But I'm going to say that, number one, you have to identify what is it that you're lacking, what is it that you want to grow in. So that's like step one. But really, my first thought went towards relationship building. So what is, who is it that you want to develop deeper relationships with, whether that be internally in your organization or whether that be with certain clients that you want to work closely with, and make it a habit to check in with them, and not as a salesperson, as a human.
No, true.
Ask them how they're doing. Ask them what they're working on. Ask them how you can help them. If it's a coworker, be curious about them. Nothing about yourself unless they ask you. So that's my advice.
Wow. And y'all, you can do all 3 of these things in less than an hour, right? Like, talk about something that's truly actionable. Take an hour this week. Reach out to somebody, a colleague, a customer, and connect with them in a true way, something that you don't have anything to sell. You cannot benefit financially from it. Reach out to somebody who is particularly strong in a soft skill that you want to learn how to grow muscles in. Schedule that 30-minute call with them and make the list of all your soft skills. See what's at the bottom of the list and create that plan, that 30-day plan, to make it a habit. Oh my gosh, Savannah, wow. What did you think of that? I thought that was exceptional. I appreciate all of you so much, and everybody that joined.
So many notes. I'm gonna start applying immediately. I think those were super incredible, actionable tips at the very end, and all of it was just packed with gold nuggets. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you all for speaking. Amelia, Alexis, Shawanda, Leslie, for making it a fantastic hour. We we're excited to have you again in the future. We got events coming up with Sales Hacker in person, Seattle this weekend, Atlanta next weekend, San Fran November. I dropped links in the chat to register for those, so check those out. But I think that's it for today, and we'll see everybody on Thursday for our next event with Dale Dupree. Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.